At this point, we are now ready to do the reset on the neck of this guitar. What are we going to need? Your body, your neck, your saddle obviously, straight edge. This is a ruler which is long enough to measure the scale required to get the saddle in its proper place. A set of calipers to measure the gap that we're going to need to measure to get the neck angle correct. Pair of scissors, a little bit of tape. I use the second straight edge because this one is longer than the scale that I have. And in the case here, a couple of the drill bits which we used to put those position holes into there. So let's go ahead and get the neck back in its position. And there's the hole. And there's the other hole. So this is a 12 to the body guitar. So we're going to measure to that, which in this case is 12 1/8, giving us a 24 1/4 scale. So we're going to set our saddle where the guide is at 24 1/4. And you want to be as accurate as you can. This is a crucial measurement. Alright, because this straight edge is longer than what I need, I will use my other one here. And I'm going to set this on the bottom of the saddle, that is below the string guide, resting on top of the frets. And now using my caliper, I'm going to measure the distance which in this case is 100 thousandths. And that distance is between the bottom of the straight edge and the top of that last fret, going level across the frets here. So now we know how much to take off the bottom of the heel block. In other words, this section from here to here, and I'm going to tape up what needs to be removed and then show you how that works. So we're going to measure our same distance right there. On the other side of the heel as well. You're going to tape from your removal point to 0, which is flush with the top of the body, the fingerboard, and the corner of the neck here. Cut the tape off at the heel. You're going to do the same thing on the other side. Once you have completed that, it will look like this. You have wood showing here. No wood showing here. The bottom goes straight across. Same thing here. Wood showing here. No wood showing here. The wood is what you are going to remove off the heel. And you're going to remove that by sanding or filing. I would not recommend a chisel or a grinder unless you are very skilled at that. You're going to gouge into it and you're going to cause yourself some problems. You want to constantly check that fit to the body. And make sure that you're not developing a round in here. And by that I mean is that from filing or sanding, people have a tendency to file this way and you end up developing a round right in here before you get to the top of the heel. And on both sides, it's very common, it happens. You want to be real conscious not to do that. When it does occur, you want to use a long, straight, flat file like that to remove anything that has a little hump in it or anywhere else like that. Recheck it, fit to your body, continue to look at it, and then when you have it real close to where you're going to get it, we want to put the piece of sandpaper in here and drag that out from underneath the heel to fit that exactly to the body. Alright, you've completed your sanding necessary off the neck block here. Everything's nice and square and straight. There is one more thing that you need to do to be able to ensure a good fit to the body, and that is on the end of this dovetail. This area has now been opened up by removing this material, so you need to measure from here to the face of your removed material on the neck heel, which in this case I've already measured it, and it's quite simply just doing this with a caliper, is a 630 thousandths. And then you want to measure that same area on the body of the guitar, which in this case was 618 thousandths. So that tells me no matter how much I sit this in here and try to press it in here to get it tighter and tighter, it's not going to, because there's more material here than there is room for in here. So we're going to need to remove 12 thousandths of material from this end, nothing up from this end. Again, you're going to taper it to just like you did with your neck block right here. So we're going to remove 12 thousandths from here, nothing from here, and then we'll begin the process of fitting that in there and then snugging it to the body real tight. We've got our little guide pins back in here. The neck is sitting in its proper position in the body, and just prior to gluing it, you want to make sure that you check this with your straight edge, that it lands just on the bottom of that saddle, which is exactly where it's sitting, so we know that we have removed the correct amount of material off of this, and this will have a nice low action on it when it's played. See, obviously I've installed the neck back onto the body. I don't think it was necessary for you to watch me glue a dovetail joint. Everyone should know how to glue a joint at this point. Now we used our 2 guide drills in our holes to make sure that the neck is positioned correctly. After that, what I've also done is gone ahead and measure at the widest part of the bout here on the 3rd fret up, which is 3 inches, 659 thousandths on both sides, meaning that this is square on the body as well. It's just another way to measure it. One thing of note, the fingerboard is going to be above the body, as you can see by I'm able to pass this little strip through here. And the reason for that is because you have removed material from the heel of the neck, making it pitched back like this, so the fingerboard will be above the body. So what you're going to do obviously is get a filler needle or something else like that, fill that with some tight bond to make sure it's oozing out, moving it up and down just like we did when we filled the crack, glue that in place. While I've got the rest of the fingerboard glued down to the deck, 2 things here you should pay attention to. 1, the positioning of the clamps. This clamp is in the center down to this brace, which carries the center to the heel block of the neck, which is also clamped here. You have these 2 clamps which are on this member that goes across the back to make sure that the deck is flat, it's not tipped either way. These 2 ensure that. These 2 back clamps here also ensure that it stays glued 100% to the deck. You'll notice that there is no glue showing anywhere, even though it was oozing out all over. You see a little bit right here, which I'm going to clean up yet. Once you get this in here, you're going to have to monitor this for the glue that's going to seep out as the wood starts to squeeze up on itself and get into position where it's going to stay permanently. So you're going to want to monitor this. You don't want to see any glue on any of this. So you're going to have to keep an eye on that for a good half hour or so. Use a little bit of cold water and a t-shirt or a soft rag, not flannel, to make sure you wipe up all the glue, including a glue that you're not going to see, which is that when you're wiping this off with water, you're going to push some glue out of here across this top here, and you have a little residual film. You want to make sure you go back with a clean rag several times to make sure that that film is gone, and make sure that you have no glue showing anywhere, because it's going to be really difficult to remove later on, especially using that tight bond. You'll notice as you come around here to the front, you see this piece of Sitka spruce right here. That is actually carrying this clamp and the clamp on the other side. The middle one is obviously under the neck. As you're going to leave this clamping on here for 24 hours, make sure you do this to ensure that you don't have those dimple marks in the bottom of that guitar. You don't want those on the back. So let's take a look at the clamp position again. So you can see there's 3 on both ends. 1 in the center, 1 on both sides to make sure that the fretboard stays level this way. And that's the same thing the other 2 are doing in the back. And again, monitor your fretboard for about the next half hour or so to make sure that there's no glue seeping out anywhere, because if it does and you don't catch it, you're not going to enjoy cleaning it up. Alright, there is that completed neck reset. So you can see that joint is seamless, almost like a factory new job. There's a little bit of work that needs to be done here yet, as far as matching a little bit of stain to it. As you can see, I've already started aging the binding on the back. The front is still white. You can see how that sits on the deck, nice and flat there. At this point, you'd think you would be finished with this reset and you can put the strings on. Unfortunately, you are not finished yet. Because you know that you had this tip back and there was that space underneath this section of the fretboard here, and it was glued down, you have now created a little hump right in here, right at that joint. So what needs to be done is that these frets from here to number 7 are going to need to be removed, that part of the fretboard leveled again, frets reinstalled, and I prefer to do new frets, and everything leveled, redressed, and repolished again. This video has also been edited for content quite heavily. There are a lot of things that are given in here that weren't showed. For example, as you know, that I took all the frets out of this neck to begin with originally. So that's one thing. First of all, the fretboard had to be leveled. The frets had to be reinstalled, redressed. Why didn't I just leave that stuff off and measure from the bottom of the fretboard and add the thickness of the frets? That would be a good question. Unfortunately, when you level these instruments, you're not sure exactly how much is going to be left on there. Even though the fretboard was very level and I did not have to remove a lot, it's still kind of a risky undertaking to try and do that. And what you will end up doing then is sanding the bridge down or being above the saddle, and then you have to redo the entire process. So it's just safer to do it the way I described it. So the next thing you're going to see on here is going to be the removal of these frets, the releveling of this fretboard, and then the installation of these frets. And along with that video, I will show you how to polish some frets and get those really nice and sharply rounded instead of flattered off like that. So again, I appreciate your patience to my subscribers for waiting for this video. There is hours and hours of content which has been edited out of this just due to the time restraints in a 10-minute segment. But those are the basics of a neck reset. I'd like to thank you again for watching my videos, and if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button down on the bottom there, and I'll shoot you out as much video as I possibly can to help you along with your build or restoration.